Hey, Cardamancy Mesquite. Looks like it's just the two of us. Yes. You say, I finally figured out why I'm supposed to do videos. Tarot, survival for the totally unprepared is where I'm supposed to share my ability to deal with anything. Well, if you decide to do it, please let me know. I will make sure that I join you and support you because we're coming up on a year of me and my madness, and you hanging in there. Even after Johnny and Adrian left, you and Sharon Sipe and a few others, you hung in there with me. So I am so appreciative. Hey, Adrian, it's good to see you. It's really good to see you now. And Black Cat Tarot, how are you? Hello, love. I managed to put some lipstick on for y'all. Couldn't do much more. I washed my hairs. I gave myself a facial. I was actually just doing all this stuff to put off a task that I should be taking care of. Uh, procrastination, but I will actually take care of it tonight. So, you know, just stuff. But as I stated in the description of this video, I wanted to give you some more in-depth detail about the Venus Revolution, how and why it started, and about our muse, Sarche, later to become Sarah Bartman, an African woman who was part of a tribe called the Khoi people. They were the Africans who lived in the mountains. I also mentioned sexual harassment on the gig, sexual harassment. Hey, Clarence. Sexual harassment in the workplace. And trust me, there is a common thread running through her story and through the things that I'm going to share, which are my experiences working in corporate and in music of what can be called sexual harassment, and also the hyper-sexualizing of Black women, especially in the media. Now, this is not to dismiss that women are oppressed all over the world. This is not about who's more oppressed than the other one. It's not about dismissing any hypersexualization or any of that of any other group of women. I am speaking specifically of Black women because the media has purposefully put us out there as these vixens, as these promiscuous man eaters, as these as the hoe, the stripper, the baby mama, the bitch, the Jezebel. And that is not by mistake. But let us begin with the Venus Revolution. The Venus Revolution actually came to be in the summer of 2006. There is or was a cafe called the Apache Cafe, which was really like a cultural center because there were all kinds of events that went on there. And the best thing about it was that they had the banging. I performed there. They had the great stage, great mic, but you didn't know who was going to roll into the Apache and we would get a jam session started. Jill Scott would roll in, Erica Badu, of course, our lovely queen, India Irie, a native, began here and would always is gorgeous and wonderful and would stop through. So it became a cultural center. So the Venus Revolution began as a cultural movement And it began as a way to challenge the European idea of what is beautiful, because there's a whole group of women, particularly Black women, who are left out of that. So it began, I was at the Apache Cafe, and I saw a flyer where they were looking for models to pose for a calendar, and it gave me the information. And when I spoke to the gentleman who used to own it, I own it now, a fabulous educator and hip hop artist here in Atlanta who's gone on to do great things. He's a bomb. He's a marketing genius and engages in what he calls guerrilla marketing, and holds fabulous classes on the art of guerrilla marketing. Anyway, I met him, and he was satisfied. He was actually very pleased that I wanted to be one of the models, and he was also pleased that I had an understanding of who Sarah Bartman was, that I had some extra knowledge that was more than just a line or two that you might find about her on the internet, and my honest desire to want to humanize this woman who was called the Venus Hottentot. So Sarah Bartman is our muse. I actually got quite a bit of information about her when I sat on a panel with two professors of Emory, one named Pamela Scully, a white South African woman who was teaching African American studies or African studies at Emory. Ironic. And Clifton Craze. I don't know if Professor Craze is South African or whatever, but they wrote this book called Sarah Bartman, The Hottentot Venus, a ghost story and a biography. And even though it's a small book, it's a pretty academic read. They even went so far as to trace her roots to her existing family today in South Africa. She lived in Cape Town, and it is said that, not much is known about her life, except that she was an indentured servant to someone named Heinrich Caesar, who was considered a colored man. Now, colored in South Africa is different than colored in America, and colored can encompass a spectrum in South Africa of skin tones or whatever, or mixtures of races, etc. And when he died, she was part of the will. She was written into the will of this man, that he gave everything to his cousins. He gave everything to his cousin. So she came along with the package. Now, during that time, her new owner, which I think was also another Heinrich Caesar, was friends with a disgraced British surgeon. Both of them were in need of money, and this surgeon cooked up this idea that Sarah could go to London and be a star because she would be in the Piccadilly Circus because of her unusual build. And that build is, now I have a glorious ass, one that I was embarrassed of for many years. Hers is a whole nother thing. There are images of her on the internet that show her behind. And yes, she was a star in Piccadilly Circus. She was led out as a wild beast, an animal in a cage, and only her trainer could tame her and control this beast from the wilds of Africa. Now back to Cape Town, and because of all the sailors that came in, it's speculated that she may have done what so many other Black women were doing there, and that is they may have entertained the sailors that were coming in. Some of them were probably, or more than likely, prostitutes. They were getting money for the services from these sailors. We really don't have any idea, but it seems that that was pretty much the norm then. Also, once they cooked up this plan and convinced Sarah that she could be a big star, I just can imagine how she could see herself going somewhere, going to another land, a land she'd never known, and making it big, earning a lot of money and being able to return home a show enough queen, because in her tribe, she would have been considered a queen or a prized possession, a prized woman because of her build. I spoke with an anthropologist about this, and she says she'll get back to me, because she seems to think that the size of our asses, especially in hot and arid places, that they actually can help us get through those dry spells, much like a camel's humps do. But that's a whole nother conversation, and I'll have to get the doctor on to clearly explain that. At any rate, she goes with these men. Now, we don't know certainly if she was forced or if she was convinced to go. What we do know is that she ended up in London, and that she began to perform, because she thought she was acting. She began to perform at Piccadilly Circus. I've skipped over quite a bit of her story simply because I want to get to the meat of it. And I also was thinking to myself, as she's dreaming and thinking that she's going away to do something great, that she probably never ever thought that she'd never see her homeland again. That she, even while she was at Piccadilly Circus, she imagined that she would return home someday. Now, she did come out of the cage with a cloth hiding her vaginal area. Her breasts were exposed, and as was her behind. And she was considered a freak because white women were not built like that. They didn't have that kind of body image. They were flat, they were straight. All the Rubenesque women in the paintings may have had hips. They didn't have asses. He might have taken a little artist license on giving them booties, but they were more hippie than they were hips and ass. And at the end of her shows, her trainer or her owner would allow men to violate her, to pinch her, to touch her, to just violate her body. And it wasn't something. Oh, thank you, Aspie Third Eye. I know that also in cultural anthropology, many African tribes associated a large rear with increased fertility and healthier offspring, and that's also very true. Thank you so much for that. She didn't like that. However, in her mind, she was performing, she was acting. At least that was what she was told. Now imagine going to a place you've never been, you don't speak the language. The only people that you know are your owner or your master or this wretched, disgraced surgeon. Can't imagine why he was disgraced, but doesn't matter. Imagine going to England at the time when slave trade had been abolished. And so hearing about Sarah being at Piccadilly Circus, hearing about her performance or whatever, the good Christian children came. and they wanted to conduct an interview with her. Now, they're speaking English. She only speaks Dutch. And her master or her owner is there in the room doing the interpreting, and most likely telling her what to say to these people, because he knew his ass was grass if it was found out that she had been there against her will, that she was actually being abused by him, because even though she performed and was a star, she was still his servant. She still cooked and cleaned and did whatever he required of her, because she was his possession. So there was a court case. There was a whole thing. She defended him by saying that she was acting. He also, and it was all about the money for him. He also, for the money, would allow the medical masterminds of the time to examine her. They were attempting to make they were going to make the connection between Africans and apes, the missing links. There was a doctor who even went as far as trying to implant the seed of apes into African women to see if they could give birth to these things. He carried on these experiments for years before he was stopped. Now, of course, they didn't find any kind of linkage. This shows me that there have been white doctors, white cultures that have been studying us for thousands of years and know more about us as Black people than we know about ourselves. In many cases, the only thing we know about ourselves is what some white man is telling us. That's also another video. So she convinces these people that she's there by her will, that she's loving her gig, etc., 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 etc. In the end, however, she died destitute. She died broke, probably a venereal disease, diseases of filth that were running amok in the East End of England, of London. And when her body was found, the doctors didn't give a shit how she died. They wanted to cut her up, which they did. And still looking for that whole missing link. Those are some of the earlier times when medical racism began and is still practiced today. And it may not just be with Black doctors, because I know some folks I've had some unpleasant experiences with Black doctors, but it has to do with white doctors not taking Black women seriously when they come. Excuse me. Okay, here I am. Sorry about that. Something came up and I had to get rid of it. They didn't care about that. And so what is most heinous is what they did to her genitalia. Within the Khoi women, their genitalia is constructed such that the minora labia extends below the majora labia, meaning the inner smaller lips extend below the outer larger lips. And for them, that is what began this whole notion that Black women have these insatiable sexual appetites, that we are voracious when it comes to sex. Talk about being harassed on the job. I don't imagine being Sarah Bartman. It was at all easy for her. And to know that she died in the streets and cold, never to see her homeland again, had to be terrifying, had to be a terrible feeling. Terrible feeling. Now I can move on. I'm talking about I'm talking about sexual harassment because Andrew Cuomo is trending. 11 counts, sexual harassment. I don't care what you may have heard or what you believe. These are my thoughts. I hope that it ends up being untrue. I really do, because I like the guy. Black people in New York love Andrew Cuomo because he took care of them and made them feel like he cared. And as far as Kristen Gillibrand goes, she can kiss my fat black ass if I let her. Because the way she treated Al Franken and demanded that he resign without even an ethics hearing is bullshit. So I don't hear nothing from her. And I'm just wanting to make a point. If he did it, if this in fact is true, if through the trial and all of that, this is true, because I'm sure there's going to be some trials. He deserves whatever is coming to him. But it strikes me as mighty strange that California Governor Newsom is being brought up on impeachment charges, as is Cuomo if he doesn't resign. These are governors of two of the largest states in the country. They pay the most taxes in the country. And it just strikes me as odd that I feel like they're being targeted. I really do. I feel like they're being targeted. And I still say that even if Cuomo did or did not do these things, I see money exchanging hands. I see money exchanging hands. All throughout my life within corporate America and within the music business, I have been subjected to what could be called sexual harassment. Even now, when I go to a corporate setting, even now. Now, when I was young and happy and out there, some of that shit I ain't gonna call sexual harassment because I was all the way down for it. These men were fine ass men and a whole lot of fun. And they enjoyed my company. I enjoyed theirs. And I love being lavish with gifts and expensive things. So, yeah, queen gold digger. But I wasn't messing with no broke, you know what. I can't tell you how many times I've had white men in law firms slide up next to me and talk about how they like their coffee, black and sweet. But they didn't marry a woman that was black and sweet, you see. It would have been all right if I had gotten flattered. But there was always something about me that I think made them sort of step back. They knew it wasn't cool to get too close. They knew it wasn't cool for them to there was always something about me that kept them from going any further. And once I would ask them, if you married a black sweet woman, and they would get red in the face, I would know automatically that no, you did not. So get the fuck out of here. Get out of my face. when I was in the when I started out in the music business, I had an agent who put me in front of the king and queen makers, the men who could make or kill a career. One such man, I won't call his name. May he rest. He's probably dead now. And I'm not going to say R.I.P. I'm not. No, he was a filthy bastard. I was always very careful whenever I went for audition about how I dressed, how I presented myself. And on this occasion, now this man was huge, and he was representing anybody who was anybody. That went for actors, singers, everybody. So I went in and I introduced myself and presented him with my, at that time we had to take, CDs had not happened at that time. So you had to use those little tapes, the little tape recording things. I brought my resume and some references, and I had some wonderful references. The conversation quickly turned to, he took the tape and put it aside, took the resume, put it on top of the tape. The conversation quickly turned to, would you like a drink? What kind of liquor do you like to drink? Or if you don't like to drink, what kind of drugs do you like? Okay. I'm saying to myself, I see where this motherfucker is going. But I'm still smiling. No, thank you. I don't want anything to drink. If you have some water or tea or coffee, I'd like that. Well, what kind of drugs do you like to do? I was sitting across from him across this huge desk. He had a beautiful desk. He said, well, let's just go over here, and he had a sofa in his office. Horchow, I might add. He pulls me, he helps me get up out of my chair. He takes my hand and walks me off over to this sofa and sits me down, and then stands in front of me with his crotch in my face, his fat belly and his crotch. I still remember how I felt. I still remember that feeling that I didn't come to you trying to sell anything except my talent. But it's obvious what you were thinking of me. So he continued to talk and stand in my face. And I said, well, sir, I came here because my agent referred me to you, thinking that you might be able to sign me or help me go further in my music career. However, I see that you're not at all interested in my music, and that you have turned this conversation, or this meeting is going into another direction. And I just want to tell you that it can go a whole lot of ways. But if you're going to treat me like a hoe, you're going to pay, because people who pay don't tell. Well, that was the end of the meeting. And before I could get out of that meeting, I got a call from my agent saying, honey, if you want to be taken seriously in this town, you can't go around presenting yourself as a hooker or speaking like that, I said, Lou, he lied to you. I didn't, and I didn't. He wanted to treat me like one, and I told him that we could do that if he want, because there was nothing about this motherfucker that was attractive except his money, okay? So if he wanted to treat me like a hoe, then he could pay me. Now, the thing about Hollywood and that whole thing is black women were not able to be, you could not do what a lot of white women were doing, which was screwing the people with the money and get a career. You couldn't do it. You just be dead in the water. You just be a hoe. Out on the road. When we would get calls, oftentimes when you get called and audition to do a road gig, you might know the people because you've listened to their music. You might know their music. You don't know anything about them personally. Not really. You learn a whole lot about people when you're on the road, especially when you're the only woman on the road. I've caught it everywhere I've gone. And at the time that it was going on, I didn't even call it. There wasn't a name for it that I knew of. I didn't know anything about sexual harassment. It was just what went on at the office. There was one company I worked for that once a year had an office party, a staff party. You couldn't bring your wives. Wives couldn't bring their husbands. You couldn't bring your boyfriend, your girlfriend. It was just us. And boy, oh boy, did I get a lot of offers. And this is an internationally known company. I was baffled. Why can't we bring dates? Why don't you bring it? It was because all the people who were screwing in the office had freedom to do it amongst people who knew, that had their affairs going on, all of that. I got lots of offers. Lots and lots of offers. And as I said in the beginning, that when I want to speak about hypersexualization, when I speak about the objectification of Black women, this is not to in any way dismiss what any other woman has gone through of any other race. I'm not trying to talk about who's more oppressed than the other. I'm speaking about my experience and what the media has purposefully done to create this image of Black women purposefully. And now with the plethora of Instagram models, that is totally lost on me. I thought models dressed up in pretty clothes and walked the runway. I didn't know it was about you showing your ass. And especially, I didn't know how many surgeries were being performed on women who wanted what I have naturally. So that takes me back to the Venus Revolution. This was a cultural movement, and it is still a cultural movement challenging the idea of beauty. So we showed calendars, we had videos, we had art shows, we had dance parties. It was great. We sold art, and the photos were mostly of women who were built like Sarah or close to it. We were honoring women like me who can't go out and just buy a pair of jeans. I've never worn a pair of jeans in my life because they were too narrow in the hip, and there was no way they were going to come up my ass. No. I have one pair of jeans And that's because somebody came up with a great idea that Black women aren't built the same as white women, and we might want to create clothing that works with their bodies. I took the idea to Monique. I wanted to invite her to be one of the models. I wanted her to come on the show. And if y'all remember, she did a photo of her and other Black women in body paint. That was not her idea. That was my shit. That was my shit. We didn't show women's faces. These were not professional models in our books. They were school teachers, homemakers, engineers, lawyers. They were from all walks of life, and none of them was a professional model. And it began when the artist at that luncheon we were having asked a statuesque, dark chocolate woman if he was looking for models to be in his videos. He asked her if she had ever been a model. She said she had never even considered it because she was always told she was too fat, too Black, and too ugly. Bam. There you have it. This Venus Revolution came out of the mind of a man who loves his African queens. I went into the store today, purchased a little something, a little convenience store across the street, some little broken down little motherfucker. He on a cane and shit, okay? Broken down. I walk in, minding my own business like I'm always doing, like I was when the bitch wanted to touch my hair up in the Walmarts. I'm paying for my purchases. He looks over and says, "Damn, girl. You keep on dressing like that, and you're gonna get in trouble." I said, "Well, not from your broken down ass, okay? I am a survivor of rape. It was a vicious rape. Somebody broke into him. I was living in Hollywood in a cottage that I was told William Holden lived in when he was starting his career. Charlie had all of this Hollywood history. Beautiful bungalow. Lots of glass, though. And no lights leading down the path to get to my cottage. And one night I was coming in after a gig, and I was just about to cross the floor to turn on the lights when I was stopped at knife point. And I could smell his breath, his body odor, all of that. And it was pretty much a surreal experience. I couldn't believe, it was almost as if I astrally projected. I was looking at what was happening to me. And when I called the police to report it, the cops made me feel as if I had asked for it, or was I a working girl, or what was I wearing? Now, I don't know how they treat white women who've been raped. I know how they treated me. They assumed that it was something I was wearing, or I was a working girl, hoe, hooker. In the media, for us, like I said, we the hoe, we the baby mama, we the stripper, we're your maid. with the Jezebel. And when the Me Too movement came around, which was started by Tawana Burke, a Black woman, white women seized on it. When she was nominated as one of the most influential women or people for that year in Time magazine, she wasn't on the cover. It was white women on the cover. She was buried somewhere back in the book. So that if someone were to ask you who started the Me Too movement, you tell them Tawana Burke. It wasn't Rose, what's her name? It wasn't all of those women calling out Weinstein. They jumped on it, and it became their movement. And all Tawana got for was a plaque at one of their little self-masturbatory meetings or events. We have, even in the passage, Black women were referred to as belly warmers. These vile, filthy sailors with diseases of filth, venereal diseases. They didn't wash, they didn't take care of themselves, just used us. And if we didn't want it, we would just be tossed overboard or thrown aside or beaten. The shit get beat out of us. We've always been disposable women. Thousands of Black women go missing. But their cases don't stay open the way a white woman's case stays open. Because if she was a known hooker, if she was a crack person, whatever, her background made her life not have value and disposable. Because you see, we're just sexual objects. Do I think myself a sexy woman? God damn it, I know I am. And I ain't gonna stop being sexy or erotic or exotic. I'm not gonna stop being that. But I'm also not going to allow anyone to disrespect me or come at me some kind of way because of the way I feel about myself. You know, even our own men in the hip hop community, we've been bitches and hoes for years. Venus and Serena were vilified, said they looked like men. Vice President Harris is a bitch and a hoe. So it don't matter how accomplished you are in anything you do as a Black woman, you can still be a bitch or a hoe. Got to be. So the media has done much to portray us as being overly sexed and always willing, hot, and available, and with some of these hip hop rappers talking about slapping a bitch in the face with the dicks, you know. It's not easy for us. It's just not easy for us. Hi, Jaconda Thomas. I'm going to read some of the comments. She's saying, well, the police, they look for an excuse to be demonic, do evil, and break the law. They would never be the ones to call for help of any kind, and you're absolutely right. Hi, Doreen. How are you this evening? Aspie Third Eye says no woman is responsible for a man's weakness and inability or unwillingness to control his behavior. Period. Red Lentil says they did the same thing to me. All of a sudden, my sexual assault was my fault. It is frustrating. It's more than frustrating. It's humiliating. And you become victimized again. Sarah Bartman, the Venus Hottentot, she wasn't given that name out of love. That was a tongue in cheek because those white folks thought she was ugly. But oh boy, the men couldn't wait until nighttime to creep around and get them a piece of that ugly. Rape is a crime of violence and power. And I had a scar on my neck for a long, because he broke the skin just enough as a dare. I dare you to call the police. Well, I did. For the good it did me. And I mean, I kept the panties, the whole deal. I doubt very seriously that there was ever a rape kit or anything ever performed. Five Paces says, hey, Jace, it's terrible how we are continuously portrayed in the media. Well, yeah, and some of the responsibility is us. Okay, so back to, I have, because of my build, I have been harassed all kinds of ways, cat calls. I would never walk through a group of men. If they were on the corner or anything, I would cross the street and go down the opposite side. I tried to be invisible for a long time. It just never works, And because somewhere a friend of mine reminded me that all across this land that my ass and back have been memorialized in paintings. There are a bunch of paintings. There is a stunning piece made out of a stump pulled out of the ground in Paris, California, that my friend, Dr. Malachi Andrews, tended to. He massaged, he rubbed, he smoothed. He got a piece together, and that thing went, I think, for $30,000 to $50,000. I got a piece of it, though. It wasn't like, So my stuff is all, I mean, I never, once I began to understand, I would never be built like a white woman. I was never going to have narrow hips. I was never not going to have an ass. And God, please let me have big titties. I just love big bazoobs. But all of those things, instead of being looked upon as being like a sexy woman, an alluring woman, a confident woman, for us, it's the opposite. It's the opposite. We're already being fetishized. And then when I was interviewing one of the top cosmetic surgeons here, and he said he thought my ass was spectacular had I had any work done on it, I had to tell him it's God's work. God's work. The anthropologist friend of mine says Sarah Bartman was a woman. She loved. She most likely had children that died in childbirth. She wanted to be loved. She was a real woman. She was a woman who was treated like an object. Because she was chattel. Just like we were when Africans got here, when the slaves got here, we were chattel. We were no more precious to the slave masters than a fucking chair. We were just part of their property. Black women stood in the gap for their black man many times. to keep the master off of him. I don't care how many people, how Hollywood wants to romanticize the relationship between Sally Hemings and Thomas Jefferson. She was also a victim and wasn't aware of it. And I'm convinced she stayed to protect her children. She didn't stay because she loved his filthy ass. There was no love or romance there. It was victimization and sexualization. He couldn't get it from his wife, so well, I'll go get it from Sally. She's always willing. She doesn't say no. We have had to stand in the gap, and we bitches and hoes. When the Kardashians began to become blow-up dolls, and they started getting implants and getting butt lifts and this is what, if it makes you feel better, okay, fine. But for some reason, when she got an ass, it was more attractive on her than it is on the millions of sisters walking around with one. I once heard a little black girl say that she wanted to get herself together so she could look like Kim Kardashian. I leapt like a fucking Black Panther over some tables to help her understand that Kim wants to look like you. Don't you ever come out of your mouth with that ever again. Harassment is something that we live with daily. Minding your own business. And I've had it in corporate America, on the streets, in the store, in the music business. I even had someone, a manager, while we were on the road, tell me, we would go into the main act's dressing room, to get a cocktail. So I would go in. I always had my cocktail and I always sat quietly because whenever it comes time to work, I get into a work. Music for me is work. It's like I'm thinking of the music. I'm playing it through my head, et cetera, et cetera. And there was an act. They were watching some sort of variety show. He and some of his boys, his cronies. And there was a black woman on there singing with a famous white singer. And he said, "Hey, Harnaj, if you did the right thing, that could be you." I said, "Well, you hired me to sing, and I'm doing that. What am I missing? What is the right thing?" He couldn't answer, and he didn't dare. Didn't dare. And our Instagram models, wow. I guess you got to do what you got to do, boo, to get the cheese. However, you're not, they are, to me, contributing to that. They're contributing to the hyper-sexualization. And I read a story about what some of these women do to receive these expensive things, to be able to take trips to Saudi Arabia, to Dubai. And I tell you, I don't give in her story, I don't give a shit, for 20 or 30 grand, a flight and some pretty bags and shoes and whatever. one gentleman, and I'm using the term loosely, told the woman that when she came, that he wanted her to take care of an old friend of his, that he was, getting on in age and he could stand a little pleasure. What he failed to mention, it was his fucking camel. What? And there are other stories of how they are degraded. There are stories of Nigerian and Ethiopian and Filipino ladies going to work in the homes of some of these very wealthy people, only to be raped by the masters, beaten by the masters' wives, locked up, not having any freedom. There's a documentary on YouTube where these women speak about that. And one woman jumped to her death. She didn't want to go through another day of being abused by these people that had hired her as a maid. Throwaway people, throwaway lives. I also think that in some ways the Me Too movement has gone outside of the parameters somehow. That there are those women who are out to settle vendettas. I heard a man say that he, as a professional man now, everything about him is professional, say that he was involved in some conflict resolution or something. And one of the people he was interviewing came in and he complimented her on her eyes, and she filed a sexual harassment suit on him. She didn't know he was gay and didn't want nothing from her. But nowadays, a touch on the shoulder, to be called honey, or a compliment on a piece of clothing, or that could just be a compliment, all of a sudden becomes sexual harassment. Now, I'm not saying that it does not go on, because I know it goes on. I've had my taste of it. I know it goes on. I know it goes on. But some of y'all, some of these chicks out here, just to get them a bag, and if they can join a chorus of women, that's what they're going to do. They're going to join the chorus, and they're going to say, well, he said this to me, or he did that to me. So if you feel that you are being sexually harassed at your gig, speak up. Say something. Don't stay quiet because somebody says stay quiet. Speak up. But if your ass is just out there saying that it happened because you want to be part of the sexual harassment, Me Too over the edges thing, and you just want to get involved because you might get 15 minutes of fame or you might get some money, then you have totally wrecked it for people who really have been hurt. It's not a joke. I didn't find any of the jokes when these men were hitting on me, the ones I didn't like. I didn't find their jokes funny, and I didn't find their compliments. And they knew it. They knew it. So yes, sisters, speak up. And we really, there's this guy, the baby. I don't know nothing about hip hop. I don't know anything about rappers because I don't even like their names. And they haven't had a message since Tupac, many of them to me. I like the old school, KRS-One, Tupac, Biggie, one of some of the originators. What is it? Rapper's Delight, you know. I like messages within it. And yeah, when gangster rap or hardcore rap came along, people were talking about their lives, what they experienced, their experiences were in their lives. There was a message in the music. Now they degrade Black women and go find them a white girl to marry. We still bitches and hoes. And you don't want to marry one of us, but you want to drop seed everywhere and leave a bunch of babies behind. But the one you marry don't look like the chicks you have babies by. I'm proud to be an unapologetic Black woman. I am proud of my Blackness. I am proud of my people with all our ratchetness, and because a lot of our ratchetness has led to fashions and changes in music and redefining basketball games and fucking kicking up gymnastics to the point where there are those who are inspired by it. You can go to any nation on the planet and they know Beyonce and Jay-Z. Sarah Bartman is the reason white women began to wear bustles and hoop skirts because they didn't have hips, they didn't have ass. Anyway, back to this guy, the baby. Apparently, he made some pretty incendiary comments about homosexuals, the LGBTQ community, Black women. I mean, he just went on a whole diatribe. Now his ass has been uninvited to a bunch of events he was expected to perform. He's lost millions. And what I am impressed by is that the gay community came together and called him on the carpet. They came together and in a matter of days. If there's a such thing as being canceled, his ass was canceled. But they did offer an olive branch. Hey, since your publicist wrote that statement and now we know you know how to read, you need to come and talk with us so that you can become educated. But the one that made the call to action was Mother Elton John, baby. When she came out of the palace and made her comments, that was a call to action. Call to action. And the people got on top of it. I'd like Black women to finally stop or do your best to not listen to that garbage. Why I got to be a bitch and a hoe? Why do I have to be? Why are you thinking I'm acting like a man when I've had to take care of myself? And while it's nice that you open the door for me and do these things, Listen, my show doesn't stop because you're not here to take care of shit. Why does something have to be wrong with me if I don't find you attractive? I am just really, I think I'm just over us being treated as if there's no value, that our lives have no value. I'm over it. And I won't support any musician or any artist who is spouting that bullshit. I will not. I will no longer, as a Black woman, go out and buy something with disrespectful lyrics in it. I'm going to read a few more comments. Let's see here. Aspie Third Eye says, so glad I never got married. As a child, I figured anything that started out with me giving up my name would not bode well, that I'd be expected to just keep giving up everything. I never got married because I was never asked, because I think the vibe was I enjoy my freedom. I enjoy being single. But then one friend of mine asked me to marry him only because he didn't ever want me to say again that nobody had ever asked me to marry him. So, I mean, at one time, someone asked me to marry them. Of course, he wasn't being serious, and I wouldn't have dreamt of it. I wouldn't have dreamt of marrying him. If there was he was already married. What the fuck, you know? But we are good friends, and that's how we joked. I don't want you to ever have to say that again. Slavery, the old spirit art says slavery continues in America. We all know it. The rich are sometimes insanely self-privileged to such a degree. Grandmaster Flash, yes, Jacana Thomas, and the Furious Five, baby. Carter Mancy Mesquite says, I'm completely done with men. They got nothing I can't do without. Well, I think on one of our shows, we talked about these, like they're making these dolls for men that are lifelike. There are women that are getting dolls made that are lifelike to service them. Or you can always get your dildos, whatever you need to do it. I don't judge nobody. I don't judge anybody, because we all need the release, baby. Hello, Rhonda Cox. Have you been here? Let's see who else is in the room. Yes, slavery to me does continue. However, it's more in the mind now. It's more in the mind. We can be slaves to our thoughts, our lack of our low energy thinking. As a man thinketh, And I have lots of, I think I have most of my guy friends, I gotta say, are gay men. They're my pals. I don't know. Do I have any strength? I don't think I have any. Well, yes, I do. My musician friends. I should start. All of my musicians are family and they're friends. So we're friends. So yeah, they're my friends. But no, I've never getting married was nothing that I desired to do, aspired to do. No. And when I see some of the things that my girlfriends who are married have endured, I think to myself, whew, dodge the bullet. And also because I've been at it, I also because I'm high maintenance, I am a pistol baby. I ain't dull. So my shit is not for the weak. Can't come weak, game weak, nothing. So that's what I just wanted to talk about that, because it was all of this talk of sexual harassment in the workplace. It's just being it's and Democrats, we really hold our people up to higher standards. We had a president that had 26 plus women who accused him of rape and sexual assault. Jim Jordan turned a blind eye while wrestlers were getting raped by coaches. Matt Gaetz is like a movie star who is actively being investigated as a pedophile. And they manage to stick, the party doesn't turn on them. As a matter of fact, they stand up for them. They support them. With Democrats, the first sniff of harassment, gotta resign. Now, Cuomo may be an asshole. Many people have said so. I really just want to see this thing play out. I just want to see how it goes before we rush to judgment. I just don't have the energy for it. I don't want to start talking about some shit I don't know anything about. Because quite frankly, I think if I'd run into him, I'd have given him some. Because I like him. I might have wanted to play with him. He looks like he might be fun. And I said it. Yes, I said it. I sure did. But I think we all, as women, first of all, we must look out for each other. If you feel as if you're being harassed, speak up, say something. The GOP, Carter Manson Mesquite, is a party of old white men who wish they could get a hard on. I bet they all secretly kept pictures of Melania for entertainment purposes only. Kept secret pictures of Melania so they could go home, take a Viagra, and go to town. Because I don't think their wives want any parts of them. Rhonda Cox said, I got married at 47 years old. I finally found my person who treats me like his queen. And that's a beautiful thing. I think that is a beautiful thing. Because if I am not the queen, then we just cannot be. I must be the queen. Rule number 1, it's all about me. Rule number 2, it's always about me. Rule number 3, it's about me. And if you're confused, rule number 4 is review rules 1 through 3. And it doesn't mean that I give as much as I demand. I give. I love hard. I don't go half-assed on anything. I simply have, it'd be slim pickings if you're looking for it in Atlanta. I know women who came here thinking they were going to find themselves a man, and oh boy, are they disappointed. Jacana Thomas says, I'll say it again, keep the Democrats in there for the moment. If they didn't get rid of Agent Orange, then leave Cuomo in there as a weapon against the GOP. Never let them dictate to who we will back. And you are right, because Trump ain't backing down. I'm going to have to use some spray. I'm going to use my love come down on me spray, Adrian, if you're still in the room. I need some spray. Hold on for a minute. Where did I put it? Oh, I used the one in my purse. Anyway, I'm going to spray it down. He's not going down. He's not going down without a fight. Why shouldn't Cuomo? This bitch was twice impeached and he's still fighting. With all the stuff that's coming out about him, he's still out there talking about stolen election. And there are people who are believing him and who don't care that he rapes and sexually assaults women, who don't care that Gates did it to a child or transported a 17-year-old who technically probably thought she was, old enough to handle it, She wasn't thinking about that. She was thinking about the money he was cash apping and Venmoing. She didn't care about any of that stuff. She liked the cheese. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Electra Storm. Hey. Hey. Well, I've been on. I think I came on at a little bit about 7:38. I've been on for close to an hour and a half. I just felt like I needed to talk about this because it was truly grating my nerves that Dems always seem to want to rush the judgment. And I just wanted to talk about my experiences of being harassed in all my workspaces and places. I wanted to give you more information about our muse. I wanted to let you know that the Venus Revolution is more than just something about big booties. It is a cultural movement. We are adoring our full-figured ladies. We do not advocate poor eating habits, poor lifestyle, none of that. If anything, we encourage you to want to do better for yourself. And if you don't like the look of your body, then damn it, do something about it. But you got to start somewhere, and you have to start by loving where you are right now. Because we're not, hey, a lot of us, we just simply, we're not built the same. We're not built the same. Baby, I'm built for comfort, not for speed. So, if I said, if you see my ass running anywhere, call the police because I am being chased. I'm not the one who's going to get out and jog. I do not like it. I'll walk, but I do not like jogging. Yeah. Thank you, Ninny G. Isaacs. Thank you so much for the compliment. In the last couple of times I've been on, we had a few visitors. The last one threatening to shoot themselves in the head. I never want to get off this line feeling as if I was tricked or could have done more for somebody who was genuinely in distress. But I've asked Carter Mancy Mesquite to be a moderator, and I'm going to go on and assign her a wrench. Anybody else interested, just let me know in the chat. And we'll do that. Because I don't know how they find me. I don't know. I don't know about these people. But I do know that I'm going to be having some hot topics again with Miss Sylvia and straight woman or cisgender, as we're called these days. And I want a conversation with a gay man and a straight man. I want to have these conversations. I want them to be respectful. I want everybody to come to the table wanting to understand more. And we have set some dates. It's like herding cats sometimes. I was supposed to come on, I think it was a Saturday before last, but I was invited to a party. There were five of us, all one beast of a keyboard player, and myself and three other singers. And oh my God, first of all, it was just nice to be around human beings. I hadn't seen them since before COVID, so it's been over a year since we've gotten together. And we met at about 4:30, and we were there till 5:30 the following morning, singing, reminiscing, laughing, just having a wonderful time. I want to also encourage y'all to just stay safe. Wear your masks. I'm now even going back to wearing gloves because you don't know. Some people don't wash their asses let alone gonna wash their hands. You know what I mean? So let's take care of ourselves and our families, and the fools that feel like they feel like their rights are being, as Americans, are being taken away from them just because somebody asks them to wear a mask or to take a test. I want you to know that I still go through every one of these chats and write down your names and send some prayers and good vibes to you. We're going to have some talks about angels also. I just want to I work with angels a lot. I mean, like every day, all day, all the time. And I want to bring some angel study to us. You know, I hope you're calling on your angels and you're calling on your guides, because we all have angels and guides that are given to us when we come to what Christopher Hitchens calls Earth a prison colony. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. And Black women, don't stop being sexy. Please don't. It's sexiness is an attitude. It's not about how few clothes you can wear, how tight your clothes are. It's not about that. It's about an attitude. It's about confidence. It's about knowing who I am as a woman. It's about knowing, baby. It's about knowing. And so I think Adrian and Johnny are coming on this Saturday. If I should come on Saturday, then I will come on after their shows, because I so enjoyed them. The last sound bath and the messages from Mother Earth, that was really a great show. It was just absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So I think Johnny said that they were coming on Saturday, and if you left his live to come over here, that was a lot of fun. Also, he was talking about food, and he talked about how his mother used to make hot syrup with butter, and they would dip hot biscuits in it. And I remember my mother getting up and rolling out fresh biscuits every morning. She didn't do drop biscuits. She made that dough and she rolled them out, and those biscuits were light and fluffy, and we would pile on butter and syrup or some of her homemade preserves. Oh my God. I didn't start eating toast till I went to college. So, I didn't know nothing about no toast, but his show was actually a lot of fun and brought back some great memories. He has a kalimba now. That is an African instrument, and you're actually supposed to play the spoons with your thumbs. If you listen to some old Earth, Wind, and Fire tunes back in the beginnings of Earth, Wind, and Fire, when they were going on their when they were talking about transcendental meditation and things that just weren't popular at the time, they were, for somehow, we worship and, it's devil, whatever it was all wrong. But if you listen to some of their early music, you can hear Maurice White playing the kalimba. It's a beautiful sound. It reminds me of water. Sounds like water flowing over rocks or streams or something. I just love the sound of it. So he'll create a song. You have a kalimba, Ask Me Third Eye? Yeah. I'm tempted to see if I can find one myself, because I just love the sound. Ask Me Third Eye. So that's 53. I have zero urge to be sexy. I wish I could leave the house in my PJs and fuzzy slippers. Third Eye. Ask Me Third Eye. You can, girl. Where you been? You can, and you can put a bonnet on. You can. It's just a thing with me. I won't do it. I really won't do it. But I get it. Trust and believe that when I'm indoors, I'm all the way comfortable. I have special clothes that I call my eating clothes when I get down to grind. And even though they might be clean, they have stains where something has dropped on them before. So yeah, you can, girl. Yes, you can. And Monique and Renee D says Monique is gonna find you and film your ass. You might turn around and give her the finger. It's just not a battle that I want to fight. She could have found anything else to talk about. I just didn't want to join in on that argument. Carter Manson Mesquite says, I brought my grandson a kalimba for Christmas last year. I hope he's playing it. I hope he's playing it. Nenny G. Isaac says, I can't do it neither. So y'all don't want to be sexy? I do. I just do. I really do. I like pretty underwear and all that girly stuff. I've always been a girly girl. So all that comes with being a woman, I am down with it. All that comes with being a Black woman, in spite of how we are treated, I am still proud to be one. I'm still proud to be one. With that, I want to wish you all love and light. And I want you to take something with you, that in all you're doing, do it in love. In all you're doing, do it in love. I think that is the biggest test that we are faced with here on earth. Rhonda, you a girly girl too? I get it. Yes. We are all gifted with love, and we're all given love every day. So let's be some lights. Let's go out and shine a little bit, because God knows, whew, this world needs it. And Black is beautiful. Always has been. Always will be. Thank y'all. I'll send out a notice on, well, tomorrow is Friday, isn't it? I'll send out a notice to let you know, if I'm going to be on Saturday night. Now, I ain't going to lie to you. If I get an opportunity to get out, I'm taking it. Come out. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. Carter Manson Mesquite, thank you for agreeing to be a mod. I appreciate it. Y'all enjoy the rest of your evening.